So let's get on to AI and automation knowledge sharing. So today we have a show and tell from Tim Waxenfelter. Hello, Tim. Thank you for joining. Tim is a long-term client of mine, obviously one of my favorites as well. And I've been supporting his efforts to develop a SaaS product called Soapbox off the back of his, what do you call it, Tim? An instructional design firm, which is Endurance Learning.
That's accurate.
Thank you very much. LLMs have been a game changer for Soapbox. So I really wanted Tim to show you all how they've enabled Soapbox to evolve over the last year, 18 months. Remember that a key reason for hosting these workshops is to inspire you guys with ideas on how you could start to apply these technologies or perhaps techniques to your business. Tim is based in the States. I'm incredibly grateful for him getting up early to join us for this session. I think it's now just past 7 o'clock. So thank you for that, Tim. And please tell us more about what you built.
Absolutely. And normally this wouldn't be that tough to get up, but I have a 17-year-old who last night decided that he wanted to start doing open mic nights. So we were at a bar till late. He can't drink yet, but of course I had a few drinks and that was a late night. He didn't even get on stage, but he at least had the experience, and pretty excited that he was motivated to do something with his talent. Let me see if I can get the right screen up here. So just a little background, really quick background. We're a small company. I started almost exactly 10 years ago with a co-founder, a company focused really originally to build this product. But we were opportunistic and we needed paying clients. And so we ended up, we're really focused on designing training. My partner has written a couple of books on training. And so our focus is on helping organizations design better training, but it's the very manual process. So our team is very focused on helping people design e-learning, classroom training, and it's taking content, all types of content. It doesn't matter what it is. Some of our latest are, helping a couple of gentlemen in Europe and the United States better train on how to solve machining problems in factories, like content that is well beyond anything anybody on my team knows about. But we help subject matter experts take their content and turn it into training. So it's a very hands-on process. With Soapbox, our goal was to put that service into more people's hands, because our personal opinion, and I think if you go to any conference, most training is bad. Our number is, we think 95% of it's bad. Sometimes at a training conference, 9 out of 10 sessions are really poorly designed, and for people that are supposed to be experts at designing training. So what you're seeing here, this is the original version of Soapbox. Some improvements over time, change in platform, that sort of thing. But it's the same basic concept that it was when it launched 7 years ago. And I'm just going to open up a sample presentation. The idea is that you enter in basic information. And so our goal was to kind of have this, put in as little information as possible about your session so that we could then start to predict what it was your session should look like. The idea is, it's sort of when Graham was talking about those 12,000, the 12,000 vectors, like I feel like we were at kind of like we've always felt like with this, that we had to manage these thousands and thousands of different options, all coming from this set of requirements that someone has about their training. And it was one of the big original problems that we had with Soapbox. So you would get these outcome suggestions, and really what they are is an outcome route. So it's really develop a plan to, and then you would fill in this additional information. But Soapbox doesn't really, in this version, didn't really pay attention to that, because we didn't have a way to read that information and make good decisions about that information. There's probably technology out there that can help us do that. All we could really do was say, we knew if you wanted to develop a plan, we knew what to do with the next steps of that. So you would generate your training, and what you would get is based on those outcomes that you assigned, you would get a lesson plan, you would get slides and a facilitator guide, but it was really lacking in content. So share a quote. We don't know what quote you should use because we don't know anything about your training sessions. Top 5 points. We give you a structure for a way to deliver a lecture and some ideas of how to write it. So we gave people really good structure for creating their session, but they still had to put all their content in. So we, from some of our studies, we found that depending on the topic, this saved, sometimes saved people 50% of their development time. So good value, but we always felt like something was lacking. And I think the whole time we were doing this, we didn't yet know what an LLM was or how it might help us. But I think what we were asking for in technology is, can we have something that can write this content for us? So we now have in beta a version that works a little differently. The same basic structure. We get an AI warning first, and the important part about this is that we operate on trust. So anything we publish to our website, anything we do for a client, even if it's not the best of the best, somebody else may have something that's better. We have to be trustworthy, because that's the agreement we make with our customers, is that we understand adult learning, we know what we're doing. So we can't give them something that doesn't meet those standards. So we have an AI warning every time because we're a little bit cautious. As came up in some of the discussion, we have to be careful because we're dealing with people's training topics. So now the structure is a little different. We generate a topic. So it can be any topic now because of AI. So if we're going to teach somebody to write articles that rank in Google, which is kind of a funny topic given all the concerns about AI taking over Google. So it gives you, first thing it does is a really simple call to OpenAI to structure the training description the way we want. It's something that could be done in ChatGPT. It's really not super complicated. The funny thing is we built a separate tool, used some of the same logic to build a separate tool for free. And just having this and another little feature, we have customers that are bookmarking that, and they go back to that site all the time. Even just something as simple as this, that really is just a pretty simple prompt. So we're going to say it's a 2-hour session. We have activities that are online and in person. I'll talk about those in a couple of seconds. Let's say it's about the size of your cohort, maybe 10 people, and we're going to deliver it on Zoom. And so what the original Soapbox was doing was taking, a list of 30 of those objective starters and saying, here's some examples. We did use a little bit of, I forget what tool we used, but we sort of a recommendation engine. So it would recommend objectives, but that would only work if your topic was sort of one of the generic HR topics. As soon as you were training on on a certain drug, or even this topic with SEO, it suddenly didn't make any sense. It just didn't know how to recommend something because we didn't have something in our database. So the first thing we're doing is then we're looking at these objectives. So it's written objectives, and these are in our same format. It's still picking from our 30 objective starters. And this is where we always talk about it is we're trying to put a lot of guardrails around using AI, because again, people have to trust us. So unlike some tools, I believe that someone could build a lot of this same structure in a week if they just used AI as the back end, but they wouldn't exactly know what's going to come out as the result. And so for us, we have to be confident in the result. So we're still using the same structure. So we'll do identify the root causes of low search engine rankings. And so it's asking us for more. or maybe develop a plan. And so I'll just pick a couple so that we generate this in a reasonable amount of time. Maybe we'll add one more. We'll develop a work product. And so all of these can then be edited. They can be rearranged. But the idea is that each one of these should match up to your topic. If it doesn't, then there's probably something wrong with the description, which could also have been edited. So we'll generate the training out of that. Again, because we're working in our structure, there are a bunch of rules that we have around presentations. Like the presentation is a certain length, so there have to be breaks. So all of that logic comes from the previous version of Soapbox because we're still operating in that. What we're using AI for is to connect the dots with the content that we weren't able to do before. So one of the things that we learned when we were doing this is that it's the temptation with AI is to kind of say, well, design me all these activities, do all of this, and write this big call to the API. And what we found is it wasn't as predictable. So the shorter we could make it and the clearer we could make it, the more we could create that trust. Now, even while we've been building out this beta, we've switched the models as the models have improved and as they've been more applicable. And so the performance of Soapbox in the beta has improved as the models at OpenAI have improved. It's also gotten cheaper, which is just, not the typical, at least in our experience, not a typical model that happens to us. Almost everything we do gets more expensive as we go. But it's gotten to the point where generate all of the calls that are required to generate this training session will cost an estimate of about a nickel, and so it is like it just doesn't, it's not costing us much each time to generate it, but it is a lot of different calls because we get more accurate information back when we do that. We didn't start by building it here to test this out, and I'm sure you've had experiences like this. We built it with what my dad would call duct tape and chicken wire. We used a spreadsheet with the activities. We used, basically used the kind of a trigger in Zapier to call OpenAI, because I'm really not a programmer. There's certain things I can do, but there's definite limitations. So we used all those tools to give us a sense for could it answer the questions the way we wanted it to answer the questions, and in a way that we would trust, and that when our customers see this, they won't hit that point. And I forget who mentioned it, but it's that point of fear when you suddenly get a result that is bad. And I think it goes back to the people seeing that study from Apple as well. It only takes one thing like that for most of our typical audience to go, I don't trust it, I'm not doing it. So for us, it's maintaining that trust is just absolutely critical. So now when we get this broken down, these activities, each activity is supposed to be filled with detailed content. So it's content specifically about, the questions. Everything will be about the specific topic. All of the instructions, everything that you get is specific to that topic. So it's using our activity structure, and really, like, to get probably a little too into the details, but we're giving it an activity that we already trust, that's fully written on a sample topic, and saying, this is a sample of what we're looking for. We need you to change it for this. Do change this, don't change this, or this as you go through, so that what it gives back to us fits in our structure, comes back in a structure that we can support, and so that we can test this 100 times over, and 99 times out of 100, it's logical, makes sense, and it will make sense to our customers. And then it's doing the same thing. And I'll actually go back and show another example instead of generating the slides for it, just because that'll take another chunk of time. But it is generating for each one of these, going screen by screen and saying, here's what we would put on a slide, and taking that information and giving us the content for the slides, and building a facilitator guide as well. And again, all of the structure, all of it worked in the original version of Soapbox. But if you have to fill out your own content on the slides, it was always one step away from what was really valuable. And so we're trying to kind of balance the, keeping the guardrails on, but also providing all of these materials and all the content that's really valuable to people to speed them up in their process of developing training. I'll pause there. I'm sure I've missed some key things or glossed over some key things, but I'm curious if anybody has questions.